Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. Radhe Radhe, Nitinji, over to you.
Radhe Radhe Pallavi ji. Thank you Padmini ji and Gayatri ji for a wonderful session. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you. Welcome to another session of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. We've been discussing soul this week, and we will continue on that journey and talk about how glorious we are. That's what we're going to do. We'll do a quick recap and get into the topic of our discussion today. Like always, I picked up a shloka. We'll go through that. And then we will pick up on this journey a little faster. Okay, we are going into some of the important shlokas, but then we'll pick up some speed so that we can cover chapter 2, chapter 3, and resume our journey back on chapter 4. Okay, but there are quite a few concepts that need to be covered prior to that, so it'll take a little bit of time. But be rest assured, we'll cover both the range as well as the depth as we go along. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. You have to enable sharing for me. It's not enabled yet. If you can please, I think you'll have to probably make me host or something. All right, I'm able to share it now. Thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay, we'll get started then. All right. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again, all of you. Let's get started. So I picked up shloka number 29 today. It's recited slightly differently with a different meter. I will recite it and we'll pick up a few hands to recite afterwards. So let's get started. Ascharyavat pashyati. Okay. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidena. Ascharyavat vadati tatheva chanyah. Ascharyavat manya shrunoti. Shrutvapenam vedana chaiva kaschet. All right. Do you have anybody who wants to recite it?
Yeah. I see a lot of hands raised.
Sure, we can pick up maybe 5 or 6 hands.
Prahlad ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Prahlad ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Okay, where's the Hiranyakashipu here?
There is Dhruv there.
Okay, Dhruv there.
Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidенam Ascharyavat vadati tadhaiva chanyah Ascharyavat chainamanya shrunoti Shrutvapenam vedana chaiva kaschit.
Very nice. Radhe Radhe, very nice. Prahlad ji, thank you very much.
Dhruv ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेन माश्चर्यवद्वति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येन वेद न चैव कश्चित्.
Wonderful, Dhruv ji. Thank you. All right, let's pick the remaining hands.
Radhe Radhe, Sandhya ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. आश्चर्यवत्
पश्यति कश्चिदेन माश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्.
Wonderful, Sandhya. Very nice. Okay, let's take remaining hands real quick.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
राधे राधे. आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चित् एनं आश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनम् अन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्. राधे राधे.
Please, thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone. आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवत् नैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्. राधे
Wonderful,
राधे.
very nice. Okay, we can take the last three hands.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Rahul.
आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेन माश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येन वेद न चैव कश्चित्. राधे राधे.
Wonderful, thank you. Last two hands and we get started.
Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe. आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदनं आश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चामेह आश्चर्यवच्चैनम् अन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चिदः. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe. All right, last but not the least, Pragi ji.
Ragi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe.
आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेन आश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्.
Very nice, Pragi ji. Radhe Radhe. All right, so let's get started. In this shloka, Lord Krishna is talking about soul. He says some see the soul as amazing, some describe it as amazing, some hear of the soul as amazing, while others even on hearing cannot understand it at all. Okay, so quick recap on the soul itself. We spoke about the concept of soul. I'm going to do a quick recap on that. We spoke there are 6 darshans, 12 darshans. 6 are called Vedan based on Vedas, based on the Shabd Praman, which are called Astik Darshans, and remaining 6 are called Nastik Darshans, which do not base their philosophy on Vedas. They have their own book, right? Starting with Charvak, Buddhism, Jainism, and so on and so forth. The ones that do not talk about Vedas, they consider body, right? Not necessarily body, even there is a difference. Like Charvak says, body is all that there is to be, right? We are this body. And then he has Yavet Jivet Sukhen Jivet. What is that? Renain Kritwa Grit Pivet, basically. Karza karo, khao piyo, jio, ash karo, karza karke khi piyo kind of a philosophy is there. And he says we are body. But if with common sense, you can actually understand we are not this body, because every 7 years or every few years, our entire atom, basically cells change in our body, right? So we are changing. Even within Buddhism, there are different philosophies, right? Madhyam Darshan, and then Yoga Darshan, and then not Darshan, but different philosophies within that, where some say that it's all Shunya, there's absolutely nothing. Some say there's a continuum, but it is the knowledge that you keep on gaining. Jainism goes on to describe soul, but it says the size of the soul is as big as your body, right? However, we take refuge in our scriptures, Kathopanishad and other, they talk about soul as being a fragment part of God, which is again, Bhagavad Gita is basically reiterating the same when Lord Krishna says, Mame Vansho Jiva Loke. And it says the soul is tiny, sukshma tattva, which your body cannot perceive. And if it is sukshma, the question comes, where does it reside? It resides in the region of the heart. If it resides in the region of the heart, how does it make the entire body sentient? It should only make that part conscious, right? Our scriptures go on to explain that it makes it conscious like light permeates everywhere, or the fragrance of flower. Right? So consciousness is a symptom of soul. So that is how soul has been described. And then further on, our scriptures tell us the concept of reincarnation. Like Bhagavad Gita also, if you go to, there is a shloka in chapter 2, 13th shloka, beautifully describes Dehino smin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantar prapte dhiras tatra namuhyati. Even in this life, we are doing reincarnation by changing bodies. It is the same I which used to be a kid, became an adult, right? Youth and then adult. Intuitively, we know it is the same I. Although the body is changing, it's the same us. So that, but I is the soul aspect of it. Okay, that is what we are talking about. So let's continue and look at the topic of our discussion today. Are we this tiger or are we this cat? We are actually tiger, but we perceive ourselves to be a cat. Okay, and today we'll feel good about ourselves. Okay, that is what we will talk about. Right, so we are simply glorious. Let's just understand that part. Okay, it's not how we perceive ourselves. We are actually much more than what we think we are. Okay, that is what we are going to talk about. And I picked up this picture of Neo from Matrix. And one of the favorite dialogues in that movie is when Neo is told, and by the way, this movie is based on Bhagavad Gita teachings. And if you look at its tune, it's Astoma Sadgame spoken in real fast. So it says, I forgot the name, the guy who tells Neo, you are capable of much more than you give yourself credit for. It was only a matter of realizing what he can do, and then he's able to do that, and same is the case with us. Okay. So anyways, let's get started with our topic of our discussion today. So from the tiniest atoms at a micro level all the way up to the macro level, right? Take an atom and go all the way up to the galaxy. Right? It is pretty amazing. So like I said, the motion or the spin or the axis or the tilt or the velocity, everything is so perfect. Even if one dimension changes in an atom, let's say its spin changes, its axis changes, its distance from the nucleus changes, its velocity changes, everything will become plasma. The fact the solid objects exist, that itself is something pretty amazing. Like Einstein also said, there are only two ways of looking at this world. Everything is a miracle or nothing is. There's nothing in between. Okay? So if you think deeply about starting from your own body all the way up to this entire universe, right? Tiniest atom all the way up to the galaxy, it is amazing. This is an amazing creation. Right? Vulture from I don't know how many feet above can discriminate between a moving object and a dead object. It just knows. That is what God has endowed it with, through its laser sharp focus. It can figure out something is dead, it will immediately go and grab it. Silkworm, it's an amazing thing, right? Its excreta is used to create clothes. Dog, the sense of smell. Can anybody imagine how it is being used by detectives, right? You would have seen in CID movies. Such an amazing power. So this nature, if you look at it, it's pretty amazing. Everything is kind of nothing short of a miracle. Even nature for that matter. When the winters start coming in, the nature starts giving us things which are rich in vitamin C because it's needed for us around that time. So everything is actually, if you think deeply about it, is pretty amazing. And so let's look at some other rose. If you look at it, this itself is pretty amazing. Little rose is also in its texture, smell, and beauty. Just wonder, poets, they can keep on go on to write poems just by looking at the marvel of this nature, right? There's a famous quotation by George Bernard Shaw about the rose. He said that a rose is a rose is a rose. You can't go any beyond that. Okay, that itself is a compliment to the rose, by the way. And the most amazing is the Supreme Lord himself. You see, Supreme Lord, how he's lying down. And it is said that Anantishesh. So if you start glorifying Lord, it is never enough. Okay, with this tongue, first of all, we cannot articulate enough. But just to put it in perspective, this 10,000 headed serpent, which is Shesh, Balaram, Lakshman, right? All that, it is said that since time eternity, he has been singing the glories of God and still has not completed them. Okay, so Hari Anant, Hari Kratha, basically, you can't put it in, it's not finite. It's pretty amazing. Creation itself, when we look at the cycles, the Chaturyug cycle, Manvantar and all that stuff, right? Those calculations, they are just amazing, outstanding. And to the most precise detail, you can calculate which Manvantar we are in and for how long this creation has existed, at least from our frame of reference after the last Mahapralaya. Right? I don't know how many such cycles have undergone, this nature has undergone. Let's continue. So, soul being a fragmental part of God is also amazing. It's more amazing because world is insentient, jad. We are sentient. Now, just like God is divine, soul is also divine, and the intellectual prowess that is needed to comprehend the soul, it is very difficult to grasp. We cannot, through our intellectual gymnastics, we cannot comprehend it. It's just like, it's difficult to do that, comprehend. That's why even self-realization is a pretty long shot. There's a process to it, of course, but it's not something that just by sitting and thinking I am a soul, you can do that. There's a process about that. It's not easily perceptible. It is divine. And there are different experiments that have been conducted. I think in one of the countries, Israel or Russia, they conducted an experiment that they said there is a soul. So let's capture soul. So there was a guy, they put him in a glass case. They thought he's anyway gone case, so let's put him in a glass case. And when the soul departed, nothing happened. It's so subtle. What will happen? Nothing will happen. They couldn't capture it. So that is how subtle it is. So a lot of experiments have been conducted, but you can't capture soul. Kathopanishad goes on to say, so anyways, the teacher is very rare, and even the science of science realization, you don't hear about that. Atmagyan. A lot of philosophy says Atmagyan or self-realization is equal to God realization. That is not the case. Atmagyan is not equal to God realization. Both are different. Atmagyan is about knowing a drop in the ocean. Okay, knowing the drop in the ocean, you would probably get a sense of the taste of the ocean, but you would still not know the depth and the expanse of the ocean, and definitely you can't row a boat in it, right? So God realization goes much deeper than self-realization. But even for self-realization, to come across a teacher who can explain you that, it requires a lot of good fortune and providence for you to come across that part and to understand that topic. An enlightened teacher is never discouraged when, despite sincere efforts, people are not interested or they cannot understand the size of the soul. It's not that they give up on that. They keep on trying because even Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says it's not something that would click to people just like that. It can take multiple lifetimes. Bahu janmante, Lord Krishna says. After multiple lifetimes, people start understanding about me, and amongst them, Sahastreshu, he says, even amongst 1,000, one will strive for it. And even those who strive for it, very few will actually try to know him. And amongst those who try to know him, very few will actually get to him. That is how the tapering off or the diminishing law of return, it goes in this path. So the teacher, they keep on telling about it because it's pretty amazing concept, just to trying to understand the soul, who we truly are. Okay, that is how amazing this whole concept of soul or true identity is. Let's continue on. Praladji, you'll have to wait until we knock it off, and then we'll take some questions. All right. Now, illusion by material energy. People are so engrossed, right? You see these people, how we are engrossed in subject matters for sense gratification alone, that we have little time to understand the question of self-understanding. We have our priorities set, and we have absolutely no interest to know the source. the source, who we truly are. This question, how many of us can ponder? Like in normal life, nobody ponders. It's like, how do I care? Like I asked one of my relatives, who are you? So he said, I'm your Masi. If you have a better answer, tell me that. I said, all right. But people like Socrates, they used to wonder who they are, right? And if they had the benefit of coming across Bhagavad Gita, something which Lord Krishna explained 5,000 years back, that would have swept them off their feet. And that Eureka moment would have come. They didn't get that benefit for so many years. We are getting it, so we are extremely fortunate. This knowledge, even though we are sitting on this knowledge, but because of various reasons, we don't get access to it, right? It's available, and yet it's not available. You can see it around, around you itself, because our experience is a microcosm of the entire universe, right? If you see around people around you, how close they are to this knowledge, and yet so far, and that is how it is with the world as well. Okay. Now, because of our material conditioning, most people, they're not able to imagine how such a small particle, which is called soul, can become both so great and so small at the same time. How it can be so great. And on the other hand, there is another challenge. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul, because of ignorance or because of coming in contact with people who are misguided, and there are so many atheistic theories floating around, they never get to know it. So there are various reasons why we don't get to know soul, or how amazing it is, who we truly are, and this concept remains a secret for an entire life or across lifetimes. Okay, and there are multiple theories. You'll come across a theistic theory, this theory, that theory. We are body, we are nothing. We are a bunch of chemicals. There is only one life. Enjoy it to the best extent, and it's like an ice cream. And then who has known life after death? All these are philosophical theories. All these things we will come across. But our scriptures tell us, no, you are not going anywhere. And let's understand the higher principles and do ourselves some good. Just by aligning to those principles and becoming happier. In general, nobody wants to be unhappy. But the problem is, nobody knows the secret to be happy, joy, or blissful. Right? And part of that is the very question, who we are. Seeking is the stepping stone to becoming happy. If you don't seek, you remain in Bhautikvadi philosophy and the materialism itself. We have seen it. You can continue to spend another 10, 15, 20 years to extract happiness from this world. It ain't going to happen. Our scriptures are telling us very clearly. Okay? That temporary agitation of mind that we substitute or mistake for happiness, that process will continue, but beyond that, nothing will happen. So it's not a straightforward process to understand our soul until you take a refuge of a spiritual master. And it needs to be firmly grounded in Vedic wisdom to understand those principles. So let's pose a question. Okay, you see, there are a lot of dollars and a lot of money here. So the question that I want to pose is, quick question. Do you know the richest place on this place in the world? Anybody knows? Hawaii, Las Vegas? Anybody wants to take this question? Shyam Arora ji, okay, you may have a hack to this question, okay, but please go ahead.
Radhe, just thought is my body.
The richest place in the world is your body, right? Very true. I mean, in a way it is, because your body has soul, which is energizing your body, right?
Yeah.
And your soul is energized by super soul.
Yeah.
And super soul is God himself.
Yeah.
And the most richest person in this world, Kuber, is at his footsteps. Yes, your body is also richest. Very true. Good answer. Yes, anybody else? I'll continue with that. All right. So let's look at it. I mean, I just wanted to put a little bit of thing in perspective to get the discussion going for today's what I wanted to cover. So richest place in the world, is it the oil-rich Gulf states? That is the richest region in the world, I guess. See, God is a very smart, right? God has given only sand to that region. But along with sand, they have given them oil. Go enjoy. Okay, it's called liquid gold, petrodollars, right? They have so much of money and they didn't have banks. Then they created banks to put that money. Then they started loaning that money to US, and US would give that money back to them for oil. But when they'll get that money back, they didn't have banks, and now they've started building banks. But now things have come very far in Saudi Arabia and everywhere. People have started investing in knowledge and all that stuff. But this is the richest region in this world. If you go to Fortune 500, top people, richest people in the world, invariably it has to be some sheikh. Okay, so there's a story where there's a guy, he's a sheikh's son. He comes to US for studies, and he writes a letter to his father. He says, Dad, you know what, when I went to college, it was very embarrassing for me because people were coming in their Lamborghinis and all those luxurious cars, and I had to travel, with people in a train. I had to pick up a metro and get a train, and people would come in their own cars, big, nice, jazzy cars. And he wrote that letter to his father, and his father was actually moved, reading that letter from his son. And he replies back to him, is that all, son? You should have told me before, okay? From tomorrow, the train is all yours. So basically, he bought him the train itself, okay, not a car. So that much money you have in Middle East. But is this the richest place in the world? The answer is no. Then what? Is this the richest place in the world? Perhaps the diamond mines in Africa, right? All the diamond of the world is stored in Africa. And if you want that, there's a movie, you will not wear diamonds again. How much atrocious it is, how it is mined, and the kind of exploits that happen. Is this the richest place? This is also not the richest place on earth. Let's see which is the richest place on earth. Okay. The richest place on earth is a crematorium. Okay. Why? Because millions of people, they have departed, died, and they carried many valuable assets that did not come to light nor benefit others. There's a book by Todd Henry, Die Empty. Okay. Now, the biggest loss, as you can see, is the calamity in the world is the waste of human resources, the unrealized potential, because all of us are souls, and what we are truly capable of doing, we don't even explore 0.00001% of it in our lives. And that is the biggest tragedy of our life. So this is the richest place where we are simply lying down there, okay, with so much of potential which was untapped. We are not lying down, obviously we have transmigrated, but I hope you're getting the concept around it here. So the point here that we are trying to make here is that we have so much of potential, being a tiny fragment part of God, okay? And that potential basically gives us an ability to become godlike. That much potential we carry. We have infinite potential. Swamiji has explained that concept beautifully. Law of infinite potential we have. And that goes wasted just because we keep on capping it, because of the limitations that we impose because of our conditioning. Okay. Let's move on, look at it a little more. So this is who we are. And this is who we think we are. Okay, that is how it goes. What we truly capable of and what we think of ourselves and end up accomplishing in every life. This is the story of us, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. That is the ironical part of it. Okay. And it's more like this Neo of Matrix, which was told that you are capable of much more than you give yourselves credit for. We spoke about that briefly. So since the soul is the tiny part of God, it has the inherent splendor and immense potential. Okay, we just have to realize that and believe in it. And it is said that be perfect, even in Matthew, in Bible, it is said, be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. That much potential we have. Nobody can limit us actually. And a tiny spark, like, although it is a fragment of fire, it can consign an entire forest to flame. I don't know if you have read that story from Leo Tolstoy. I remember that from my childhood. That story was a spark neglected burns the house. Okay, so if you neglect a spark, it can actually burn a house, and it can turn down And we know the California fires and all, it just starts with a spark. That much potential a spark has. And that much potential even we carry. And the biggest wall that we need to climb is the one we build in our mind. And there is a saying in English, if you think you can or you cannot, in both cases you are right. Right? So the impositions are self-enforced than anything else. In fact, it is said God is Satya Sankalp, right? We spoke about this concept. Satya Sankalp means he desires and things happen. We can also become Satya Sankalp. The problem with our Sankalp is, Sankalp means anything that we put our mind to, that it is wishy-washy. We dilly-dally. Okay, I'll do this, but maybe I can't do this. You know what? There's so many problems because of which I won't be able to do it. Or maybe I should try something else. So that sankalp is not pakka. When you make it pakka, you will end up achieving it. Whatever you put your mind and efforts to, you will end up achieving it. God, it's a promise of God. But because of our self-doubts, we don't do that. So our mind is so malleable. It has so much of potential that you can just do unbelievable things in life. So many people in a short span of life, they write such big novels. They go on and win Nobel Prizes. They give back to humanity. And you don't have to go far. You have to just look at Swamiji, the kind of life he leads and the kind of things he's able to produce during his travels and stuff like that. You would imagine, is it really human? It seems like superhuman, but the fact of the matter is we all have that potential. We just cap it, thinking we can't do it, or it is not possible. It's beyond my limit or capacity. God is saying that you have that potential, because we are fragmental parts of God, and like that spark, we have the ability to become like God. It's not that we have to take multiple lifetimes to do that. It's our own conditioning which is telling us that. So this is a key concept that has to be understood, and our scriptures are telling us that as well. Okay. So let's move further. Success aspect of it, even in success standpoint, right? When we look at our success in our life, it is actually blossoming our soul in who we are and what we do. And to succeed in life is to become the best we can become and do the best that we can do. That is from Swami Mukundanand. So the fact, the best that we can become and do the best that we can do. And invariably, we are actually underselling ourselves. That much potential we have. We just have to believe that. And it is even Swami Vivekananda said that these prophets who have come before us, and even during our lifetimes, they were not unique. They were men as you and I. They had attained super consciousness, and you and I can do the same. The very fact that one person attained that state indicates that all men, it's not mean, can do so. And ultimately, that is a religion. That is directly from Swami Vivekananda. So it's not that it is mission impossible that we have taken on. It is very much doable. And we just have to believe and keep on taking those incremental baby steps. And that's all we control, right? And furthermore, it is said that bestowing us with infinite potential is God's gift to us. Realizing that infinite potential is our big gift back to God. So if you want to make God happy or gift something back to God, we just have to realize our potential. He said, you don't need to do anything for me. Just become the best version of yourself, realize your potential, and I'm happy. That's my gift from your side. So that is the key concept around this whole discussion that I wanted to pick up. Let's do a bit of a, okay, I think Dhruv or Prahlad had a question, and then I'll get into a bit of a discussion part of it where we have to, we'll exert our mind to think about things that basically cap our potential around it. So Prahlad ji, you had a question, or anybody around this topic? Have you gotten overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that has been thrown today? You had a question earlier. Okay, no worries. Yes,
Yeah.
Sandhya.
Sandhya ji, please go ahead, Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So that's true, like that there is infinite potential, but how does one realize about how much should one push themselves? Like you can go to, like as you had also said at one point of time, that we have to choose the battles that we want to fight, and along those lines. In every direction, how much should we push? And, identifying those boundaries at times become a little hazy.
Yeah, it's a very valid question. So this question was asked Swamiji as well. And what he said was that, let's say you have this much ability in life, then take up something which is this much. Okay, you push the envelope and go up. Because if you're going to take up something which is this much, then it will break you. Okay, it will break you. You will get demoralized. And it will be like, okay, forget it. And if you are here and you take up something here, then it will keep you complacent. You may raise down your game as well, or stay where you are, or likely you will become lazy in life, complacent in life. So the idea is to incremental growth is you are here, you take something like this, you're pushing your boundary a little bit. So then you come here and you do this, you come here, and there will come a stage where it is not going to be a small jump, it could be a huge leap, because when you do, God's grace start getting mixed in it, interesting things start happening. You just test your intent and your willingness to improve yourself with purity of intention. So we do the sadhan bhakti, and when the sadhya bhakti starts happening, God's grace start getting mixing, then miracles start happening. So that is the whole idea, where we have to pick our battles, but at the same time, we need to push our limits to an extent that takes us forward, not breaks us down. And that is something intuitively we will develop over time. We would know, this is my boundary and this much push I can give myself. It's a bit of an art with experience we get and with God's grace, of course. But that's the whole idea. And second thing, Swamiji tells that, okay, you are here. Sometimes you may pick up something here, okay, and put in your best, because it's much beyond my limit. I am not capable of doing. When it will get done, you will realize it was not you who did it, it was God and Guru who did it. So that's another way. It's just like a father is trying to lift weights. No, a kid is trying to lift weights and father is giving the push. The kid is thinking, I'm doing it. But actually developing a little bit of muscles as well in the process. Same way it goes in the Seva world as well. I realize it every day. Trust me, when I started off with this session, I was like, who's going to do that with job? Okay, the kind of job I have, who will create presentation, and then I'll have people sitting in asking questions who can talk about that, Bhagavad. But somehow it is working out, okay? It works out more often than not. And I realize it every day, it's not me. I keep on telling that. It's not me, it just happens. So that is God's and Guru's grace. So that's my own little understanding around this part.
Thank you.
No worries. Yes, Manoranjan ji.
Yeah, Radhe Manoranjan. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Radhe, namaskaram to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Very much.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for conducting this session. I have a question because I heard that it is said that we are soul and we are tiny fragments of the super soul. My question is, I wonder that if something is dimensionless, there is no dimension attributed to it. The soul is dimensionless, the super soul is also dimensionless. So how can you say that it is a tiny fragment? If something which do not have a dimension, how it can be tiny?
It does not, tiny means what? Tiny word is relative to something, right? You draw.
No, you cannot relate now because this doesn't have a dimension. You understand? You can attribute the word to tiny when there is a dimension. Now, if there is no dimension at all, we cannot say tiny. Simple thing.
So if God is saying, Mame Vansho Jiva Luke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Mame Vansho, my Ansh. Now, Ansh, let me ask you a question, logical question. Can Ansh be greater than whole? Forget about dimension or not. And how would you materially explain it? Do you have a better word than saying tiny in that case?
Yeah, the same in the Vibhuti Yoga. The Lord says that Aham Atma Gudakesa. Sarvatma Sarvabhuta Tadastita. Aham Adisya Madhyasya. Anta Evacha Makarmani. So the same Lord is saying here that Aham Atma, I am the soul in every prani.
So what do you want basically? What's the point here?
So what I'm saying is that the Atman is basically, there is no difference between Atman and Paramatman. They are all the same. It seems to be different.
Let
but
me
they are
ask you
same.
one thing, Manoranjanji.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
scripturally, the same Bhagavad Gita is talking about Mame Vansho Jivaloke as well, right? Now, am
Yes,
I
yes.
supposed to take it as a principle, a universal fact, or as your opinion?
No, when we say answer, see, because Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnadam Purnamudachyate. If something which is complete, you take something out of that, that part is also complete.
No.
Okay, if you take something out of infinity, that is also infinity. So there is the ans. The ans means it can be same as the from where it is being got. You got my point. What I'm trying to say is that there is no difference between Atman and Paramatman. They are one and the same. They seems to be different, but they are one and the same.
So Manoranjanji, this Purnamadam, Purnamadai that you are talking about, right? If we were actually the part of God, right? We are his Jiva Shakti. This concept is different. Jiva Shakti of God. If we were actually part of God, there was no difference between us and God. It's very nicely explained in our scriptures. We are the Jiva Shakti of God. I'll give you an example of it. Okay? You have a body, right? Right? Now within your body, if I take your hair off, or let me say if I take your nail off, right? Nail is part of your body. Is it yes or no?
Nail means? Sorry?
Nail. Let's say
nail. Okay. Yeah, nail is part of body. Correct.
So does nail have the same properties as your hair or rest of your body, even though it is part of your body?
No.
Does hair have the same properties as you or rest of your body?
No.
So can you say it is not part of my body?
No, it is very much part of the body.
Similarly, our scriptures tell us, even though it is all God, still the energy of God, Jiva Atma, is different from his actual Shakti. It is Anu, Sat, Anuchit, Anu, Anand. Even in our body, we can see the difference. Then God's energy also has a difference. Our scriptures explain that. Now you are selectively picking up a verse, excluding the others. Now, the saints can explain that. If you are doing self-study around it, it will confuse you further. So I would recommend you listen to a saint and get your doubts clarified, because otherwise we will get so much of confusion that everything will get jumbled up and it will become a khichdi in your mind. Okay. So these concepts are pretty deep and they are supposed to be understood under the expert guidance of a God-realized saint. And these doubts will get resolved. Otherwise, these kind of doubts will come. See, I gave you a very small analogy just to illustrate the concept. It is the same body, yet there is a difference. And that is essentially the difference between us and God as well. Okay.
Hey, but the example you gave has got some dimension. You got my point. But the thing which you are talking about do not have a dimension at all. Right?
All right. So
like electricity doesn't have a dimension to it. So it is something which is very subtle. So in that aspect, that it cannot be compared. You cannot compare which do not have a dimension.
That's fine.
That is what I am saying, because practically we have to see this concept.
Got it, Manoranjanji. So you are entitled to your opinion. If that serves the purpose and helps you progress spiritually, you are welcome to believe that. Okay. But we follow a philosophy which is not coming from our own opinions. It comes from a saint, from scriptures, and from Swamiji, who has spent 40 years studying this topic, right? And teaching this to millions of people. So if you're welcome to follow, that's fine. It's not a topic of 2-minute debate where we talk about, dimension, not dimension, same, different. You're welcome to believe as long as it is helping you progress. I think we should just leave it at that. Anybody, any other questions they have, we can move forward. Yes. Prahlad-ji.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Nitinji, I somehow lost that analogy that you gave, but you explained very beautifully. Can you please again?
Yeah. So basically, see, this philosophy is there, right? That everything is God. Right? So if you look at it, yes, end of the day, you can say sun rays, the surface of sun, the core of sun, all is sun. But at the same time, they still have a difference. The core of the sun is different from the surface of the sun, and those are different from the rays of the sun. Right? They are same and yet different. So our scriptures tell us there is a bheda sambandha with God.
Correct.
Now this monoism theory just focuses on abhed aspect of it, the similarity, like Manoranjan ji was saying, Atma, Paramatma, both are same. All right, they are same in two aspects, they are divine. But yet there is abhed. And that aspect is conveniently excluded unless you come in contact with a saint who can explain that concept. Similar to our body, it's all our body. Our hair is our body, our nail is body, that example. But nail, you cut your nail, it is insentient. And you cut it beyond a point, it is sentient. So that means within our body, there is similarity and at the same time difference. Yes. Similarly, there are three eternal entities as our scriptures explain, Brahma, Jeev and Maya. All are energies of God, like sun rays, sun. So you can say it is all God, but at the same time it is different. Maya is Jada Shakti, Jeev is Anusat, Anuchit, Anuanand, and God is complete in himself. Okay? Yeah. So that is the concept what we understood. If we were God, right, why would we come under Maya? That first question. Right? Yeah. And then if we came under Maya, that means Maya was more powerful than us. Yes. If Maya was more powerful than us, then it refutes the very definition of God, that God is all powerful. Second argument, if we were God and we came under Maya, okay, now let's say we again get back to God realization, then what is the guarantee we'll not again come under Maya again, right? Yes. Because if for the first time we became ignorant, then we can become ignorant again. Or somebody will say, no, you were God, you became ignorant, but next time you will not become. No, that is even more confusing. So that means we were less than God. That is why we are under ignorance. And our scriptures explain it very nicely. He said, God is Vibhu, we are Anu. God is Mayadhish, we are Mayadhin. God is Sarvagya, we are Alpagya. God is Vibhuchit, we are Anuchit. So God is infinite, we are finite. God can take an avatar, administer the universe, and yet at the same time be permeating all the atoms. We are present in one place at the same time. Can we be administering the universe and doing all? Of course not. Right? So we are tiny fragment of him, and that's what our scriptures tell us, and that is the correct understanding. Right. We are God. This concept is not correctly understood. It will confuse. You'll have more questions, more discussion, yes, but it will not lead us too far.
Yeah. To add to that, Manoranjan ji was saying that we are dimensionless, but Swamiji clearly said that we cannot. I mean, with our material mind and intellect, we cannot understand that spiritual nature, the divine nature, right? Maybe there is a spiritual dimension, and that is spiritual.
We are exposed to three dimensions, and dimension itself is material, right? How can you bind in a word a spiritual thing? We cannot. We try to give rough estimate of it through the language that we can use, but we have no clue. Even dimensions we don't know. We know three dimensions. Einstein brought in some other dimensions like time and all, but those there are so many dimensions we are not even aware of at this point, right? We don't have access to. Narad Muni may have access to some other dimensions where he's able to do space travel and things like that. We don't have that. So these are matter of intellectual conjecture or gymnastics, nothing more than that. So rather than debating and thinking about it ourselves, the smart strategy is to go under the refuge of a God-realized saint and surrender your intellect and understand from them. Because our intellect is not good enough or smart enough to understand these concepts. It will only confuse us. See, trying to understand these scriptures through our limited intellect is just like somebody trying to lift themselves through their bootlaces. Can anybody lift themselves through their bootlaces? Of course not. Then how can we understand scriptures on our, pick up selectively from here and then from there and then start? So this will not take us. It's not a very smart strategy to understand something.
Yeah, you very
beautiful. That's what I've understood. Based on my limited understanding over the years, it can become a wild goose chase otherwise. So
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautifully explained. Yeah.
Yes, Aswina has a question. And I see iPhone 2 putting on her camera as well. Sandhya ji has, Ankur ji has. So thank you everybody who all have turned on their camera. So would love to hear more from you and any questions that you may have. Aswina, you had a question. Please go ahead.
Aswina ji, are you there?
Aswina ji, you there?
Yes, sorry, it was raised by mistake.
No worries. But once you raise your hand, you're allowed to ask a question. So please go ahead. Any question?
I don't think I have anything.
Okay,
for
okay, no worries. No worries. Thanks for raising your hand, and it's at least we could hear you today, so that's nice. All right, anybody had any questions? So now let me anyway pose something here as part of our Nididhyasana aspect. I love this picture, by the way. Okay, here are some of the divine truths that we need to incorporate. So you can note it down, you can put it as an affirmation or whatever you want to do. The first is, I am the soul, not the body. Being a part of God's energies, my happiness lies in God. Okay, this has to be understood. God alone is mine. He's my eternal father, mother, friend, and master. Okay, these are the golden words. You can note it down. The human birth is very precious. I should utilize this opportunity wisely and engage in devotion to God. These are the sutras that will help you realize your infinite potential, by the way. I will choose beneficial thoughts and attitudes over detrimental ones. And take one gem of wisdom, contemplate over it just as cows graze grass and chewing it finer and finer. It will take you to sublime heights, enhance love for God, boost devotional sentiments. That is the power of contemplation. Okay, these are some of the sutras you can take note of. They are very helpful on this journey. And look at this gentleman, what he has ended up doing. And that basically tells us what are the reasons that we end up limiting our true potential. Okay, look at this guy, what he's done to himself. Okay, that is how misplaced our priorities in life are as well. Okay, we forget who we truly are, whom we need to serve, what should be our priority. So anyways, okay, any questions or anything you wanted to say, or we can move on to our next segment. We can make some announcements that we need to do before we
Yes,
proceed.
if I can get the moment, Nitinji, I can quickly make some announcements. Yeah. So everyone, the feedback tracker link is already posted in the chat. Please put your questions, comments, feedback to discuss in feedback tracker. Apart from that, we have already shared details about the Navratri Mahotsav, which is upcoming from September 23rd through October 4th. So this is going to be a gala event, which will be live on YouTube as well. And people who are already there in near Dallas area, they can definitely enjoy in person. So please do register. And there is going to be Mahisasur Mardini Stotram. We can learn how to chant and practice. So that class is going to be from Monday to Friday, 6:30 a.m. CDT and 5 p.m. IST. Zoom link is already put in the chat. If anybody has any questions, please do let us know. Apart from that, there's Shraddha Puja going to be there in Dallas Temple on September 25th, starting 1:30 p.m. And finally, Swamiji's tour are in USA. Last tour, which is going to be in Chicago, which is going on currently, September 17 through 23. And Sunnyvale, California, September 24 to September 30. And upcoming tours of Swamiji in India, we are going to keep posting all the details. It will start from November onwards. Thank you so much. That's it from my side.
Thank you. Navratri, it's starting from tomorrow, so do come over if you're in or around Dallas. We're going to have a very festive celebrations that will continue for the next 10-15 days, and it's going to be pretty amazing. So just wanted to let you know.
And now that everybody has learned how to do dandiya nicely, so now they all can participate.
Yes, yes. You all can. So by the way, tomorrow we will talk about now Lord Krishna has explained about the concept of soul. Now he's going to move on and he's going to talk about the duty. Okay, what is your duty in life? If you want to have a bodily conception of yourself as a body, well, now that he has explained, first of all, what you are lamenting over is need not, you need to look at it in perspective. And then if you want to think of yourself as a human or a Kshatriya, the role that you are in, that he is going to introduce what should be your duty. Right? That is very practical from our standpoint. What should be our duty in life? We're going to tackle that concept. And then he's going to move further and say, how do you make your duty sublime? That is how it's going to discuss. That's when we will get into the concept of Karma Yoga. So he's going to give you all the options based on what station of life you are in and what you can relate to, based on your past sanskars and what you are ready for. Based on our appetite, we pick one thing and really take it to the next level. So then we get into the duty aspect of it, right? That being dutiful is beautiful. So that's what we're going to discuss. And again, get into the next week, we are going to spend time on the science of work. How should we do our work? Because work takes majority of our life, major part of our life. After we do our studies, work takes a lot of time, right? And how should we imbibe spirituality in our day-to-day work so that we are progressing towards the ultimate goal of life is what we are going to spend a good amount of time next week. So that's just a preview of what we are going to do next week. All right, let's tackle this question, and then we can, 10 o'clock, we are going to do the wrap up of this session and spend last few minutes, the devotional segment. I have a few names. We can talk through that, but let's take a couple of questions until then.
Padmaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Padmaji.
I just wanted to share some thoughts about the true potential. Couple of things. As long as we are contemplating from a point of commitment and responsibilities, and we give ourselves, our mind, just those words without any like spiritual sense to those responsibilities or duties, then our true potential or our true purpose doesn't it's around us, but we will not have that vision to actually acknowledge and embrace it and recognize it. But once you put yourself out there in faith of God, and then you are taking those responsibilities and you're working out of your own comfort zone, which means that you're willing to take the challenge, which is sometimes it's called penance, something that you have not tried before, but you're keeping that faith in God and say, yes, I'm willing to do this, but you put a spiritual purpose to that act and that trust in God, that faith in God and Guru will give you that next step, which will give you not just what your job is, but what your purpose is in your life. And that's not like that's something that you will see. It's not like being a mother, it's not being a job, it's not being whoever the external roles that you have, but something else that you have within you, where you are served and where you're able to serve best God. And that comes, but for that to happen, you have to have that penance and trust and faith and say, yes, I might be failing, but I feel this thing, that this is what my purpose is, but God, please give me that strength and vision to do it. But you're willing to go from where you are, exactly where you are. God just matches you and works with you and deals with you exactly where you are, not the basis of somebody else's perception, but your own belief and trust on God that this is where I am. Just show me what is my purpose, not this what is my next to-do list, but how can I serve? What is that you have given me, the gifts that you have given me, and where is the best that I can serve? He will provide you that path, that resources, that platform, whatever that is for you, which is designed just exactly and prescribed for you. And you have to just keep that faith and say, okay, I'm able to see this vision, but you just give me the strength and the power to do it, and the patience and penance, and just believe in yourself. Time, space, and situation factor that I always talk about. Just wait and let that sink into your soul and let it observe, and then your mind and body will accept that this is what your purpose is.
Beautiful point. That's true. Like it is said, we are perfectly situated where we need to be, and whatever situation, circumstances they come our way, it is a custom hand-picked course for us by God. And when we have that faith, He will give us the the means also to go through that as well. We just need to have trust and faith, like you beautifully articulated. Thank you very much. Maybe we can take a couple of more hands.
Thank you, Padmaji. Radhe Radhe, Rahulji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Rahul.
Two lines of Pad from Maharaji, which will answer this question also and perfectly apt for the next session. Mansana Shatru Mitra Govind Radhe, बार बार जैसा सोचो वैसा बना दे. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, right? Very true. Man is our Shatru, and I think there was a very beautiful other saying, I've forgotten that. जैसा मन को बनाओगे वैसा ही बन जाओगे. Man is the one which is the thing that we really need to fix, and is the cause of our bondage and liberation as well. And currently it's our enemy, like Rahul, pointed out. We have to befriend it over time. And the spirituality is the process of befriending our mind. That's all it is, so that it actually guides us in the right. It is said it is a great servant, but a bad master. And right now the mind is our master. And it's a bad master. Man nahi kar raha, man this kehta hai, man is saying that, man says this. That is the problem. And if we dance to our man, that is not very smart strategy. We need to take control of our man. Beautiful. Okay, let's take a couple of hands and then we move towards
Manishji, Radhe Radhe, please.
Yes, Manishji.
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, wonderful session. Just like to add a few things to what with the self. So basically, we ourselves, by self-limiting a negative mindset and not having faith in our own self and lack of faith and trust in God and His plan, kind of limits our mindset, and negative thoughts also limits our mindset, and that kind of is what that's what I wanted to add. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe. Yes, our mind is so messed up actually. It has a mind of its own. Okay, what it will tell you, what it will do, it only knows that, right? That's a joke there, that there's a guy who was going through the desert, and he was so thirsty, it was so hot, and he got tired, and then he, there was a tree he under which he took that, there was a nice shade, and he just sat down there. And when he sat down there, he wished, I'm so thirsty, wish I had some water, nice water around. And because it was a kalpavriksha, immediately the water came in front of him. And then he drank the water so nicely, he was like, ah. Then he said, wow, how nice it would have been if I had some good food also. And immediately he saw a lot of good food. He ate the food also. He said, how nice it would have been if I could lie down and rest as well. So bed and everything came, and he started resting down. And then he was resting down. He said, whatever I am thinking, it's turning true. What if a tiger comes and eats me? And the tiger comes and eats him. So that is how our mind is. We cannot trust it. So spirituality is about training your mind so that it generates productive thoughts, not thoughts which are counterproductive, like it happened in the case of this guy. So that is why we are here and studying Bhagavad Gita. Okay, Swati ji.
Very good story, Nitinji. And interesting is that negative thoughts come very easily in our mind.
Yeah, it generates that. See, Swamiji gave a very beautiful, tip on this part in the last SMX. What he said was, the thoughts that your mind generates, that is fine. Okay, it will generate. It is a random mind, conditioned mind, dirty mind, whatever. Right? So it's like, but when you energize that thought, that is when it becomes a karma. When you start energizing it, thinking about it, or trying to surf that wave, waves keep coming and going. But you're not obligated to surf every wave. But when you try to surf wave, you're energizing that thought, you're making a choice now. That's when it counts as a karma. So many thoughts will come, you don't have to pay attention to them, it's neglected. Okay, it came, it will go, came, it go. Keep on rejecting it, unless it is beneficial. And that is the whole art of mind management. Siddha people, their mind cannot generate any negative thoughts or random thoughts like our minds do. So that is the state we have to reach on this. Okay, maybe one more hand, then we go to the, I had Shri Ramya who wanted to sing. Urvi, you wanted to sing as well today? Good. We have a couple of hands. Who else wanted to do that today? Swati ji?
Padmaji also.
Padmaji. Okay, Padmaji is there as well. So let's get to our devotional segment. Starting with Sri Ramya because she didn't get a chance because of technical issues yesterday.
Yes. Starting with Sri Ramya ji. Radhe Radhe, Sri Ramya ji. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, I actually had a question. Can I tell the question? If it's answered tomorrow, so it's okay, and then sing?
Sure, if I can answer, I'll try to. Otherwise, we can take it up tomorrow.
Question if I wait till tomorrow. I wanted to know who is generating the negative thoughts. Is it the soul or is it our intellect? Like, what is the source of the negative thoughts in us?
The breeding, see, soul is energizing it basically. The breeding ground for thoughts is our mind only, mind and intellect only. Okay, that sukshma body that we are carrying, it generates that bundles of energies. Okay, because it is under the influence of those three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Depending upon which one is dominant, it will keep on generating those thoughts. Around 60,000 thoughts mind generates throughout the day. Yeah, so it's not the soul. It's our mind and intellect that generates that.
Okay, thanks. And I'll start with the Kirtan segment.
Yes.
Yes, please. It will be our extreme pleasure once you do that.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, I wanted to sing Hari Stotram. Jagat Jalapalam Katat Kantamalam Sharat Chandrabalam Mahaditya Kalam Nabo Nilakayam Durabaramayam Supadma Sahayam Bhajeham Satam Bodhivasam Galat Pushpahasam Jagat Sannivasam Shataditya Basam Gada Chakra Shastram Lasat Pitavastram Hasaccharu Vakram Bhajeham Ramakantaharam Shruti Vatasaram Jalantar Viharam Darabharaharam Chidanandarupam Manotyasvarupam Dritanikarupam Bhajeham Jarajanmahinam Paranandatinam Samadhanalinam Tadaiva Navinam Jagatjanmahetum Suranicaketum Pilokaikasetum Bhajeham. Thank you.
Beautiful, Sri Ramya, very nice. This has been trending of late. I mean, it's a very beautiful bhajan, and thank you for bringing it to the session. Thank you so much. Loved it. All right, who's next? Padmaji, wanted to go next?
Yes, thank you, Ramya ji. Radhe Radhe, Padmaji, please go ahead.
I'll do Durgastakam because Navratris are coming. Just wanted to say one thing about the question itself. When you try to fight your mind, we are not equipped to fight our mind except God and Guru. So the only option that we have is just to beg God, okay, my mind is like this and I am not able to control the thoughts continuously come, but help me sort them out, help me prioritize them, help me which are the ones which can really give me the spiritual experience, help me guard when the thought comes and which is negative so that internally I don't feel spiritual. At that moment, how can I mend it? How can I mold it? How can I erase it from my memory? When you go from your heart and say, you know what, my mind is not in control, but I'm in your control. You are controlling me and I'm surrendering to you, and then please help me. Then the mind kind of silences, not that the thoughts will go away, but I think it filters out all the unnecessary garbage and the noise that we create in our mind, and that becomes a noise in our heart. So when we sort that out, your heart becomes calm and composed, and anything that happens, and the more bliss comes in, where less of those instances will happen in your life, I feel.
Great. Yep. I think surrender is the key. Very true. Thank you. You wanted to recite as well?
Yeah, I just do Durgastakam. Om Jata Vedase Sunavamaso Mamarati Yato Nidahati Vedaha Sana परिषदति दुर्गानि विश्वा नावेव सिन्धुं दुरितात् यज्ञिः तामग्निवर्णां तपसा ज्वलन्तीं वैरोचनीं कर्मफलेषु जुष्टां दुर्गां देवीगुं शरणमहं प्रपद्ये सुतरसितरसे नमः अग्ने त्वं पारयानव्यो अस्मा स्वस्ति बिरति दुर्गानि विश्वा पूश्चा पृथ्वी बहुला न ऊर्वी भवातोकायतनयाय शम्भो विश्वानि नो दुर्गः जातवेद सिन्धु नानवा दुरितातिपर्षि अग्ने अत्रिवन्मनसा गृणानो स्माकं भोजविता तनूनां पृतनाजितगुं सहमानमुग्रमवेम परमा सदास्तात् स नः परुषदति दुर्गानि विश्वा क्षामद्देवो अतिदुरितात् यज्ञिः प्रत्नोषि कमीज्यो अध्वरेश सनाचन होता नव्यात् सत्सि स्वाचाग्ने तनुवं पिप्रयवस्माभ्यं च सौभाग्यमयजस्वा गोभिर्जुष्टानिकिष्टं तावेन्द्र विष्णु अनुशंचरेम नाकस्य पृष्ठमभि संवसानो वैष्णवी लोक इदमादयन्तम् ॐ कात्यायनाय विद्महे कन्याकुमार धीमहि तन्नो दुर्गे प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Padmaji. You have it all memorized by heart. Very nice.
Wow.
I think it's a great way to start Navratris. Beautiful, very nice. Durgashtakam. Thank you for reciting it in our session and bringing it to our session just at the onset of Navratris. Let's move on. I think we have a couple of hands. Swati, you wanted to go, and then Urvi towards hand. You can have.
Okay. Yeah. Swati, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I'll sing just 2 lines, not more than. It's a little Marathi song, but everybody can relate to it. Keshava Madhava Tuja navat re godva Keshava Madhava Tuja navat re godva. It's like your name is sweet. Godva means sweetness. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Swati ji. Short and sweet.
Yeah, I know this song, Swati ji. Very beautiful song.
Very nice. All right, Urvi. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Urvi.
Radhe Radhe, am I audible?
Yes, very much.
And this instrument?
Oh,
Yes.
you have brought in harmonium as well, or piano. Oh, small Casio. Please go ahead. That's nice.
So I will sing a few lines of Kadamb Ki Dari.
Okay, please. That's a beautiful one.
Kadamb ki dari, Kadamb ki dari, Jhuli Radha Pyari, Jhulave Banwari, Jhuli Radha Pyari, Jhulave Banwari, Kadamb ki dari, Jhuli Radha Pyari, Kadamb ki dari, Jhuli Radha
that was pretty amazing. See this playing with this music instrument. It adds to the effect actually that you can have. So very nice. Kudos. I think you and your friend are super creative. We look for your another guitar performance. Okay, next one. So get your friend as well. It'll be awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it and loved it. Now I'm sure Ashutosh ji can go one better with his dholak that he's going to play along with whatever he's going to talk.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe, Ashutosh
We
ji,
need a
please
music
go ahead.
instrument from, because Urvi has raised the bar. Yes, Ashutosh ji.
Radhe Radhe ji, but in office I cannot bring any instrument.
No worries, go ahead. You can try with the dholak next time.
Yeah. We can see the birds chirping around.
Yes.
That will be my musical instrument.
Go ahead, go ahead.
It is like Guru Vandana, I'll say that one. असरण शरण महाप्रभु तुम स्वामी हम दास की जय कृपा कृपालु मम दीजय गुरु सहवास तुम दीनन रखवार हम अहंकार अवतार अस करु कृपा कृपालु अब दीन बनू सरकार हो ऐसो हो पतित जो पतित न आपुहि मान ऐसे पतित विचित्र को पावन करू तब जान सबे भिखारी जगत के जैतिक नातेदार दिव्य प्रेम आनंद के तुम एक साहूकार दिव्य प्रेम आनंद के तुम एक साहूकार राधे राधे
Very nice. That's a very nice vandana. Heard it after a while. So thank you for bringing it to our session. So wonderful. Thank you again, everybody. With that, we come to the end of today's session. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a great evening ahead. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Like I said, we're going to get into the duty aspect of it now, okay? And see what Lord Krishna has to tell our children. All right. Thank you. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Pallavi ji.
Thank you, Nitin ji, for another awesome session. Thank you so much. We are blessed to attend in the classes. Thank you all. Stay blessed. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe.